Hey folks, how's it going? Good to see you again. I hope you guys are doing well. I just want to start off this video by saying I think you guys have been doing a fantastic job so far this semester. By and large, after everybody got caught up getting their textbooks and getting set up in the class, everyone seems pretty familiar with how to navigate Canvas by now and when assignments are due, etc. So props to you guys for that. It's pretty cool, and I'm really happy that it's been going so smoothly so far this semester. On that note, there's a couple things every once in a while when I transfer over the course from previous semesters that get a little mixed up. I've been in the process of fixing those things, but if you catch anything like a different due date that it says on an assignment or something that's different from the calendar, like I said in my first video, just follow the calendar. But if you could, bring it to my attention, I'd be happy to fix it as well. Because Canvas isn't always super friendly when you copy over courses. But I try to catch everything. If I didn't, please let me know. I'm happy to take care of it. That said, I've also had people emailing me some great questions as well and contacting me on Canvas. It is easier to get a hold of me via the Canvas inbox method rather than emails. I will just say that just because when I get something on Canvas, it pops up on my phone immediately, so I'm more likely to respond faster. That said, I do check my email too. It's just that if I'm not at home, generally speaking, I don't have it on my phone because that gets to be a little bit much sometimes for me. Simply because I got to have my own life too, right? But if you need to get a hold of me, especially quickly, Canvas is definitely the best way to do that. So feel free to use that in the future. But like I said, I will respond to email posts too. Okay, on with business here. So as you can see on the screen here, I have grades updated for you guys, discussions number 1 through 3. I haven't gotten to your essays yet, just because yesterday I spent a lot of time really taking a look closely at your discussions and trying to give each and every one of you pretty thorough feedback on discussions number 2 and 3, which were discoveries of the mind part 1 and 2. So go ahead and check that feedback out and just see what I have to say about your work. But like I said, most of it was really good. If you did have a kind of subpar grade, maybe it was 8 or 7 or less, that's probably because, as you can see here, something's missing, right? Generally speaking, most likely, and the majority of the time, I noticed that if I had to give anybody a subpar grade, it was due to the fact that they were missing posts to other students. So don't forget that you need to not just put your initial post on the discussion board, but by Saturday of the same week, your initial discussion post is due Thursday, right? By Saturday, you need to have responded to 2 other students' posts. Be sure not just to agree or simply disagree with them. I'm going to start getting a little bit more stickly about that, as they say. So make sure that they're thorough, thoughtful responses. They're not just agreeing or disagreeing or saying good job, but that, you're really critically engaging with their ideas, maybe challenging them, building off of them in some way, right? So think about that and make sure that you guys are getting those in by Saturday, okay? That's really important. The other reason you may have not done so well is if you didn't respond to both of the texts for the week. Okay, don't forget that responses need to be 250 to 500 words total and a minimum of 2 paragraphs. And each of those paragraphs would theoretically respond to one of the questions from each text, right? So make sure you're addressing both texts in your readings and writings. And I think by and large that's been okay. But for those of you who may have suffered a problem, hopefully that's a good quick fix and solution for you. Okay, as far as those who did pretty well, but maybe are looking to improve your grade to a full A, these are just some of the things I've noticed here. Missing topic sentences, missing evidence or examples from the text, underdeveloped analysis, or not addressing the text thoroughly. So keep in mind when you're taking a look at the 4 parts of a critical paragraph. I'm going to bring this over here. See if it lets me pop it up. Okay, that's pretty good. So when you're working with this, take it and lower it here. Just take a look, right? They need to be 8 to 12 sentences each paragraph. They should be persuasive and focused analysis, argument, or interpretation. I don't mind that a lot of people have been having a tendency to bring in their own personal experiences or things that they're trying to relate it to in the world. That's fantastic. I want you guys to keep doing that. So don't stop. But at the same time, also, you need to directly address the text and make sure that the connection between whatever you're talking about, world-wise or personal-wise, is still relating back to the text that you're discussing, right? So don't forget to make sure you're doing that and making a clear connection with the text. And then also the four parts to a critical response paragraph, right? An argumentative topic sentence, evidence in the form of quotations or paraphrases, interpretation, and then a strong concluding statement, right? If you need to, check out this handout that I have for you guys if you haven't already. Some of you who may be missing out on a few points, that handout would definitely benefit you well if you haven't already looked at it. Okay, moving back to, let's see here. Okay, all right, taking a look at this. I think that covers most of it. Maybe we can briefly talk. I don't want to go on too long here, but we can briefly talk about what a good paragraph would look like, right? So I like to outline my paragraphs, and I like to do it with bullet points. So that way I make sure I'm hitting all the important parts, right? So I do a topic sentence, context if needed for my reader, evidence and example, and then analysis of that evidence or example. And then a conclusion, of course, too. We'll back that up. So probably keep in mind that these are kind of practice for your essays, right? Copy that in there. You can also do this twice, as you can see too, right? You can rinse and repeat and have two examples and evidence per body paragraph as well. So if you feel like you're coming up short on the page length, or word length of the response that you're doing for the discussion posts, you can always just offer a second example from the text, right? That works really well. For now, we're just going to use one. So I'm just going to cut that out. But let's take Bacon, for example, right? Maybe I'm thinking about Bacon's four idols, and I'm just going to make some stuff up here and keep it brief. But we'll say maybe something like Bacon is correct in his assertion when considering the idols of the cave that all men and women, we're not going to be sexist like Bacon, experience distortions of what is the truth of reality based on their own sensory perceptions and experience. Something like that, right? That's kind of the gist of probably the idols of the cave. Maybe it's a little more nuanced than that, but like I said, I'm trying to keep it short here. So we'll say that's my assertion, right? So keep in mind a topic sentence needs to be argumentative and briefly kind of introduce your reader to the topic. I think I've done that here, right? I've said, hey, I'm going to be talking about specifically Bacon's idols of the cave, and I'm going to say that I agree with Bacon, that I think that a lot of people in the world base their own perception of truth on their own reality, right? And their own sensory perceptions and experience rather than what actually is. Okay. So context is kind of a sentence where you're saying anything else you need to about the subject before moving on to offering evidence. That's not always necessary in a body paragraph. These will be like body paragraphs in your essays. Like I said, try to see them as practice for that. But just for the sake of practice, let's try and plug a topic sentence in there. I'm going to say something like, maybe I need to expand on what the idols of the cave is. So I'll say like the idols of the cave is one of the four. Oh, wow. I got out of hand quick. So we'll say something like the idols of the cave is one of the four idols Bacon considers keeps us from seeing the truth of things. I don't know if that's perfect, but the idea is to expand on your topic sentence, right? And maybe to provide your reader with any other information that is necessary in order for them to understand your argument. So we'll say that's sufficient for now for the sake of time. Don't forget when introducing a quote from the text, you always need to make sure that you actually introduce it rather than just beginning the quote, right? So we need to say something like Bacon states, we'll say the idols of the cave the idols of individual man. Then don't forget that you have to do an in-text citation MLA style format. This is from Jacobs. I believe he has a U in his name. And then we'll just make up a page number. We'll say 877 or something like that. And then after that, after the parenthetical citation, then you use punctuation, right? You don't put the punctuation inside when using an in-text citation inside of the quotation marks. Then I need to provide some sort of analysis, right? So probably paraphrase quickly what Bacon is saying. Bacon is asserting that the nature of man is based on his or her own perception of the world that could be distorted by his or her own ideas and experiences. Okay, so I actually think paraphrasing usually belongs above the evidence, and I'm starting to see that maybe this is more paraphrasing what Bacon is saying rather than adding something new to the conversation myself. So I like to think that maybe this probably goes in context, right? Now, on to continuing with analysis, right? One consideration we can make is how Bacon fits in with modern science. Just use a semicolon there. Our genetic makeup and experiences predispose us to make certain decisions. They also, prove that people develop in certain ways based off of experience. Okay, so we're getting there, right? You can see that is a little extraneous. We don't need that. Then I just need a quick conclusion statement. I could say, Bacon, I want to recap what I've said and tie it back in with my analysis. So Bacon is correct that our perception of the world is determined, at least to some extent, by our own experiences and assumptions. Okay, I'm not going to pretend this is a perfect paragraph. I actually think it's kind of weak, but I want to show you guys how to start using this outline as a possibility to improve your own writing. So the next thing you can do is get rid of the outline. Voila. And you start to see the makings of a paragraph, right? Cool. So we have a pretty developed paragraph right there, right? I mean, that's about 8 sentences or so. It has evidence, topic, sentence, addresses everything. Let's just read it really quick and see how it pans out, right? This is what I always do after I'm done with the outline. I put it together and I say, okay, is anything missing? Is my evidence not really great? Is my analysis weak? Let's check it out. Bacon is correct in his assertion when considering the idols of the cave that all men and women experience distortions of what is the truth of reality based on their own sensory perception of reality. Okay, a little redundant there. I could probably fix the reality bit, but keep moving forward right for now. The idols of the cave is one of the 4 idols Bacon considers keeps us from seeing the truth of things. Bacon is asserting that the nature of man is based on his or her own perception of the world that could be distorted by his or her own ideas and experiences. Yeah, it seems a little repetitive there, right? It seems like perhaps the topic sentence and the context are repeating. So probably it seems to me like the context could be a little bit more clear, or maybe my thesis, my topic sentence could be a little bit more clear. Then we jump into the evidence and example. We say Bacon states the idols of the cave are the idols of individual man. We have the in-text citation, and then we provide our analysis of that. One consideration we can make is how Bacon fits in with modern science. Our genetic makeup and experience predispose us to make certain decisions. They also prove that people develop in certain ways based off experience. So there's our analysis. I feel like that's pretty decent. I could make a more clear connection on how that supports Bacon's idea of the idols of the cave, right? Because if the truth of reality is based on our own sensory perceptions, and we know that we're predisposed to certain things,